She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We really are blessed that you've decided to join us today, and we hope you decide to join us every single day. Why? Because it's really important. Do you realize that out there every single day, society is pressing on you, telling you how you should live. Society is dragging you into a lifestyle, perhaps, which is not the one you really want. They're even trying to tell you what success looks like. Yeah, success somehow has this big, giant price tag, huge price tag. And it means that you have a giant house. It means that you impress everybody with your jewelry, with your clothing. You impress people with your knowledge and your degrees or your ordination papers. Yeah, well, here on the Dani Johnson Show, we challenge that mindset. In fact, in some cases, abolish that mindset. It's certainly within my own mind. Why? Oh man, I've been there, I've done that, and I'm sure you have too. Bought the t-shirt, bought the car and the house to go along with it, and only to find out that it was emptier than empty and came with a whole lot of stress, and boy, oh boy, was it not worth it. Well, today on the Dani Johnson Show, we are going to kind of put a bone right out in front of you, and you and I are going to just go at it on this bone. You see, I believe that success is absolutely impossible without this one important ingredient. It is. In fact, I want to start with this. We found a quote. Our team found this quote by Hannah Arendt. She's a philosopher and political theorist, and this is what she says. Forgiveness is the key to action and freedom. You see, we live in a world, in a time, in a day and age where people really struggle with procrastination. What I have found to be true in all of the years of training people and working with people from all over the globe, what I have found is that unforgiveness is the root of anxiety and anxiety attacks. Unforgiveness is the root of doubt and fear. It's the root of greed and gluttony and all addictions. Unforgiveness. I know, you're like, what? How in the world are those things connected? Oh, they are so connected. We won't have time to go so deep into that, but here's the bottom line. Forgiveness is something that some people like to talk about, but they really never, ever do. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I'd be dead right now if I had not learned the power of forgiveness 25, 26, 27 years ago. If I had not encountered the release of choosing to forgive every villain that I had in my life, then I know that I would be dead today. Come on, I was a kid who battled with suicide since I was 6 years old. I tried the first time when I was 6 years old. That's the very first time I had a knife in my hand and my wrist at the kitchen sink, standing on a stool, doing dishes for my mother, okay? She allowed me to do the silverware. There's a steak knife. I don't know what came over me. I just started going there. I really believed that I was the mistake that they said that I was. I really believed that I would never amount to anything, so why even live? I also believed that I could never trust anybody because every human had hurt me so deeply, desperately, so wickedly, man. I had been hurt by people who were not even supposed to hurt you. You know, your mother and your stepfather, who I thought was my father, or people that you go to church with, right? You know, those people aren't supposed to hurt you. They're supposed to love you. They're supposed to be there for you when you're struggling and when you mess up. But no, man. Instead, it was a pounce, you know? And so I really, at 21, when I was homeless, I just said, might as well just, it's done. It's over. It's too hard. It's never going to be good. I'm never going to be happy. We'll never be able to trust anybody. And then I learned about forgiveness. Yeah. That I was actually in control of my own beliefs, that I was actually in control of the love that I had in my life or the lack thereof that I had in my life. If you deal with humans, yep, you do, and so do I. If you deal with humans like I do, forgiveness has got to be one of the greatest weapons that you have. You're like, weapon? Forgiveness is a weapon? Yes, it is. Listen, medical studies, over 1,200 medical studies would be done even over a decade ago on the power of forgiveness. The medical community. It'd be amazing if the church decides to study it. Wow, concept. However, the medical community led in all of these studies and found that unforgiveness was linked to hypertension, high blood pressure, which leads to stroke. They found that unforgiveness, again, which then roots itself in bitterness and resentment and hatred and malice and jealousy and judgment, all of these emotions that are so filthy and nasty and powerful. Come on, hate is a powerful emotion. Okay? Bitterness is a powerful emotion. Jealousy is a powerful emotion. It's an all-consuming emotion. And so they found that when people forgive, that all of a sudden cancer that they had was gone, no longer needing high blood pressure medication, no longer having all these heart medications. They found that forgiveness was almost like a cure. And it is. And so I challenge you today. Are you one of those that, you like to talk about it, even like to preach about it, but you actually don't do it? Or are you somebody that you have actually forgiven somebody? Are you somebody that has forgiven someone that really was wicked to you? I mean, that really, 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 really didn't deserve forgiveness, yet you made the choice to forgive them? I want you to tell us about it. I want you to tell me, how did it feel? Was it easy? Was it hard? What happened after you forgave? We're going over to the phones. We have Michelle Richardson from Iowa. Michelle, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Hi.
How are you?
Good. So have you forgiven somebody?
Yes.
Talk to me about it.
Struggled in marriage for a good decade. And it wasn't a lot of horrible, unthinkable stuff, but just, I think mostly that I didn't feel valued by my husband the way I thought a marriage should be when it's based on the triangle, God at the head, and then the spouses on the two sides, and I just struggled with it a lot. So I had a lot of problems with confidence and esteem, and then of course with the unforgiveness, the bitterness and resentment set in and took a good hold for several years. And yeah, it was anxiety and sadness and all those undesirable emotions.
Hopelessness, which is all consuming, man. It's all consuming.
It really is.
Yeah. Now check this out. I want to dive into your story here, Michelle, because I think you hit something right on the head, and I don't want it to get lost in the shuffle here. You said, I didn't feel valued, and I didn't think I was being valued by my husband according to how the Bible says I'm supposed to be valued.
Right.
So basically, you had an expectation of your husband being Jesus.
Yeah. Never thought of it that way, but...
Right?
Yeah.
Where God is the only one that's supposed to fill the value hole.
Right.
God is the only one that can do that. And so look at this. Right. When we don't value ourselves and we have an expectation of someone being God, we set them up for failure. We set ourselves up for failure. And I love what you said. You said, then I lacked confidence. Right? So the unforgiveness robs us of confidence.
Right.
It robs us of value.
Right.
Completely.
And all that, it takes away your joy. I mean, there's no joy, and the hope. It's a pit.
It really is. It's actually not just a pit. It's a pit filled with human dung. It's it's a cesspool. It's a septic tank. It's what it is. And it's all consuming. Wow.
It really was, yeah. I could not shake myself out of it. I could not figure out how to. I mean, I tried every possible angle.
Wow. All right, what changed? Because you said you did this for a decade. You're not there anymore. What changed?
Well, I was in some counseling with a church minister, and it was supposed to be couples counseling, but my husband chose to go sometimes and not to go some other times, so I went once, and he just zeroed in on it for me, and it was pretty much a come-to-Jesus meeting. It was, I saw Christ on the cross, and I felt that blood washing over me, and it was, and after I had that experience, it was, then I'm thinking to myself, well, who in the heck do I think I am?
Yes.
wow, that I would be any better than even my husband or anyone who was, unkind or cruel to another person. We're all the same.
Yes.
And so I was just, crying like a baby, but it was a good cry. It was a releasing cry, and
it was a healing cry.
I went home and asked, very healing. Asked forgiveness for my husband and my children, and then I made tons and tons of phone calls to friends and family that, when I started thinking about all the years and all the things, that I had done, I asked for their forgiveness as well. And it was just healing, very healing, and such a release. And it was like instant joy, I could breathe and relief. And now all I want to do is, I wish I could, using a Spock term, mind meld with all of the people that I know in my life that are struggling with unforgiveness. And because I didn't realize that I didn't have forgiveness. I kept thinking, well, I forgive you. Just stop doing what you're doing.
I forgive you. Now be Jesus, please. I forgive you. Now you need to be sinless. So I don't have to forgive you again. I have forgiven you once, and that's enough.
Who the heck am I?
Right?
Like, wow, yeah.
Can you believe, Michelle, the expectations that we have on other people are always higher than we have on ourselves?
Yeah, isn't it sad?
It is. And we create this environment that no one can live in, that nobody wants to be a part of. But oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you, Michelle. First of all, the humility you have to even say what you've just said is amazing. Second of all, you took forgiveness full circle. You received forgiveness from the Savior, Yeshua, the Messiah. You received that, and you really received that. And then you took that and you went and asked for forgiveness from everybody that you had hurt, that you didn't even know that you had hurt, with your bad, sourpuss, critical, condemning, high standard personality that you had, right?
Yep.
And required everybody to be sinless. Wow. And not showing love. And you were a Christian. That's the part that's funny.
Yeah. That.
Isn't that sad? I know. Been there.
That is.
Absolutely have been there. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Michelle, thank you. You know what you said? I wish you could mind melt into other people. Well, guess what? There's people driving the cars. There's people watching this on television, watching it on their phones. And I believe that you just majorly impacted some people's lives. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do with your life? Discover your own answer right here. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, this is Dani Johnson. Let me ask you something. How many weddings have you been to in the last year? A bunch, right? Think about it. Wedding bells ringing, champagne flowing, and the bride looking like a model on the biggest day of her life. So that's where there will always be a need for skilled hair and makeup professionals. Why couldn't that be you? The key is getting the right training. XMHBeauty.com does workshops giving that training. Xtina Harmsworth has a track record of results as a professional makeup artist in Hollywood, working with some of the biggest names. One makeup artist recently had the confidence to book 3 weddings after attending Xtina's workshop, and then reported that she handled 7 bridal clients on location in one day. That's serious cash. You don't have to move to Hollywood to make serious cash as a makeup and hair artist. Go visit XMHBeauty.com today. Again, that's XMHBeauty.com. So get to that site immediately and start following your dream. XMHBeauty.com. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
What is forgiveness, Dani, and how in the world does that apply to success? Oh, it has everything to do with success. You see, unforgiveness stops you from success. It poisons relationships that you have. And by the way, money comes from people. And if you are spewing poison called unforgiveness, bitterness, and everything else that it moves into, because when you are not a forgiving person, and forgiveness is not one of your chief strategies or chief weapons that you use, what happens is that you create an environment that no one can be a part of, that no one wants to work in, that no one wants to have anything to do with. And so what is forgiveness? Forgiveness is not releasing somebody else of their stuff. It is you releasing your stuff. You see, bitterness is sin. Unforgiveness is sin. It creates anxiety in your life. It doesn't mean you condone the action that the other person has done to you. That's not what it means when you forgive them. It simply means that you are releasing yourself, and now you will freely walk as a real human being that realizes I'm just as flawed. And given the same exact circumstances, I probably would have done the same thing. Or maybe if you really, in fact, if you were God, you could actually see that you probably did do the same exact thing to someone else that person is doing to you. One of the most helpful things that I've learned 27 years ago was that whoever it was that I was blaming, that I was 3 times more wrong for whatever it is that I thought they did to me. That it takes 2 to tango, but we never want to look at the second 2, right? We just want to look at the one that we're looking at, but we don't want to look in the mirror. It's important for us to do that to grow. Now, but Dani, I'm a businessman. That doesn't apply. You know, I just care about making money. I just care about business. Okay, that's fine. And here on the Dani Johnson Show, we are always defining and challenging the status quo of success and what our society says is success. So tell me, friend, the businessman that just wants to make money, how's your relationship with your wife? Huh? You had a fight yesterday and you had one last week, right? How well did you perform at work? What kind of decisions were you able to make fully with a clear head, with no confusion at all? Come on, I know I've been there, done that. When I have had a riff or a wrestling match mentally or verbally with my husband, wrongfully, gosh, it stays in my head. And here I'm trying to get the job done. I have very little time. I got 20 hours a week to get to produce what I need to produce because I work part-time and I'm a full-time homeschooling mother and wife, cares for the home myself. And so when I look at that, you know, I got 20 hours a week. I only got so many hours, 3 days a week that I can actually get work done. If my mind isn't 100% focused on the job that I have to do, then I know I'm making mistakes. And if my fight with him, the wrestling verbal match that we had, if that is in my head, I'm not even listening to someone that's talking to me at work. I'm not even, do you understand? You know, I'm sitting in the budget meeting and, you know, it's going over my head because I'm still spewing and stewing over what happened, you know, between my husband and I. That's not success. That's not the way to live. There's no joy there. There's no peace there. There's no comfort there. And so this is why forgiveness has got to be a strategy, a tool in our hands. Not only that, if you've ever failed in business and you have unforgiveness against the last business or the people that were in the business or even unforgiveness against yourself, you're going to encounter the same mistakes again and again and again until you just simply release and forgive. So if you've ever forgiven somebody, we want to hear about it. We want to hear, was it hard? What happened? What was the result since that time? We've got Rachel Johns from the UK. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, I can't believe I'm on the phone to you, but I'm very excited.
We're excited to have you listening in and being a part of the show all the way from London or wherever, the UK, what part of the UK that you're in. So tell us, have you ever had to forgive something very, very hard or someone very, very difficult to forgive?
Yeah, it was my dad. So growing up, it was me and my brother and my mum. My brother was always very poorly, and it was difficult. There was an atmosphere, and my dad was always right, I was always wrong. When he got angry, we'd get the brunt of it physically. Yeah. So that was all to be growing up, and then when we left home, my mum left my dad, and my dad pretty much blamed me and my brother for it. He didn't speak to us for 2 years. Wow. And then my brother died suddenly. So
So in October 2004, I became a Christian. My brother died March 2005, just 10 years ago. And the first thing that God...
First of all, Rachel, hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I am so sorry to hear what happened to your family. I am so sorry about that childhood that you had, and I'm so sorry about your brother. This is 10 years exactly of that terrible loss. And I can't imagine that your father, who chose not to talk to his son, his only son, and then his father, then he suddenly died. I mean, that is unbelievable to me. Wow. I can't wait to hear the rest of the story. I know that there's a turnaround in this. I know that was a message for all of us. We'll continue with more after this.
This is the Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First steps to success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Are you one of those people that are just, you get mad? You get so mad and then you cut people off? I'm not talking about cut them off verbally. Yes, maybe you cut them off verbally, but you cut them off like physically. You will have nothing to do with them. They didn't do something you felt they should have done, so bam, it's over, it's done. You just completely cut them off. That's kind of dangerous. Joining me right now is Rachel from the UK, and she was just telling us a story about some abusive things that happened in her childhood, and mom left dad with her and her brother. Dad blamed the children for it, and dad wouldn't speak to his children. For 2 years, in the midst of that, his son died. Friend, listen to me right now. Before I bring Rachel back on the line, listen to me. I watched that happen a lot in my family. A lot. I watched family members hate each other, and then a death happened. There's so much more regret. Keeping a grudge is never worth it. Keeping a grudge has such a high price, and I promise you, you can't pay it. We are big balls of emotion and gas, I guess. That's what we are. We are humans filled with emotion. We live through our emotions every day, even if you consider yourself one to not be emotional like your wife is. No, you still live through, your life lives through your emotions. There is no pain like regret. There is no pain. And if you have a son or a daughter that you haven't talked to, that you have cut them off, or you have a mother or a father, a sister or a brother, an old good friend, an aunt or an uncle that you have cut off because of hurt, I challenge you right now to pick up the phone and call them and ask them to forgive you. What, Dani? What do I need to be forgiven for? For cutting them off, for neglect, for rejection. But you don't know what they did to me. I know what you did in this circumstance. Your response is not right. Your response is not good, and it's not wise. Why can I say that so firmly? Because I've lived through that. I have. The bottom line is that reconciliation happens when one comes to say, please forgive me. Restoration and healing comes when one decides to be the first one to step up and to do the right thing. We can't control other people's mouths. We can't control their actions, but we can control ours. And either we're going to be one of leadership and true success, which is taking responsibility for our own actions and also realizing that we've done the same exact thing that have happened to us. We've done similar things to other people. We have. Well, Dani, no, I was molested by my father. So was I, by my stepfather. And I thought he was my dad. Made it even more twisted. I was too. Okay, but guess what? Did I ask for that when I was a little kid? No, I didn't ask for that. But what I choose to do with that pain is completely up to me. And whether or not I want to live with it and harbor it and be judgmental and critical and condemning of him and every other man because of that scenario, that messes up the rest of my life. But if I choose with my own will to release forgiveness over that situation, then I can begin to trust. Then I can begin to use wisdom. And then I can offer a gift that was given to me. And who was the gift given to me by? The same gift that was given to you. God says that if you will not forgive those who have hurt you, then he will not forgive you. Hello? You need forgiveness every day, as I need forgiveness. The Pope needs forgiveness every day. I know I'm going to get some hate mail on that one, but he does. We all do. We're messed up people. I don't care how perfect you think your pastor is. They're messed up. They get tempted. They make mistakes. They mess up, like all of us do. So treat others the way you want to be treated. Listen, on your next screw up, do you want to receive forgiveness? You want to receive the release of forgiveness? Then you got to start giving it. So going back over here, we got Rachel from the UK. So Rachel, your brother dies in the midst of your father not talking, and that was 10 years ago. Then you came to a place where you forgave. What's happened since then?
At the time, well, it's been 2 years since he hadn't spoken to us, and then my brother died, which was 10 years ago. And I became a Christian in the 2004 October. My brother died the following March, and God just, as clear as day, just after I got off the phone to my mum, because he kind of told me that it was going to happen. That's a different story. And he just said, go and tell your dad. And I was like, what? So I got in the car and I had to go and tell my dad what had happened. And then God told me, you've got to forgive him. You've got to forgive him for what's happened. And I confessed it with my mouth before I felt it.
Yes.
And he's just turned the whole relationship around. And we have just had the best 10 years that we've ever had. And he's so prideful. I couldn't tell him that I forgive him. So it's between me and God. And it just eats you up. It just eats you up, and you have to do it. And my husband's going through a similar thing with his mother at the moment. And I've said, but I can do it. And it affects our marriage. The unforgiveness affects his unforgiveness.
Yes.
His parents affects our marriage. And I know he can do it.
Yes.
Anyone can do it.
Yes. Listen, I want to touch on that because it does. That unforgiveness, it is a poison inside of us, and whoever we live with feels the poison, sees the poison, partakes of the poison. And we would never give poison to our spouse and our kids. But if we're carrying unforgiveness, we're feeding it to them every day. It comes out of our mouth sideways. It comes out of our looks. It comes out of our reactions because we're harboring that. So then we're overreactive with things, and we like make accusations that are not even real, or we make assumptions that are just totally out of the pit of hell. You're so right. It does affect it. And I'm so proud of you that you were able to forgive. But I'm going to challenge you on one thing, Rachel. Who are you to judge that your father is filled with pride? Therefore, deny him the words that he longs to hear from his daughter.
Yeah.
Who are you?
That's a challenge.
You need to go and tell him that you forgive him. That you forgive him fully. And that you love him and you adore him and you hold nothing against him at all. And that you know that he did his very, very best with what he had. And that he's a good dad. He needs to hear those words from you. Don't judge another person's heart. I believe it's going to bring even greater restoration. Forgiveness doesn't mean that when you go to someone and say, I forgive you, it doesn't mean you pull up the sin again.
No.
He knows. Your dad knows. He has regret. Deep regret, especially he lost his son. Deep regret. He needs to hear those words. Daddy, I forgive you. You need to know you are so forgiven. That my little pea-picking head, that whatever it is that I thought that happened, means nothing. There's nothing that will stop me from loving you thoroughly. You are fully released. You owe me nothing. And I completely put it all beside me, behind me. And I'm looking forward to a great long life together. You're a good dad, and I'm grateful for you. And thank you for the greatest last 10 years of my life with you. I think you need to go say that to him. And something really powerful is going to happen. Rachel, thank you so much for the courage of what you shared with your story and the power of forgiveness, how it healed a relationship with you and your dad. We've got line 3. We have David Simpson from Lexington, Kentucky. David, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. What's your story concerning forgiveness?
Well, back in August, I got in bad car wreck. And I never told my sister that I was in debt, because it's my debt and it's not hers. And so when it came out, ever since that, my car wreck, she has always been a lot harder on me, so to speak. And it's, and she always speaks death over me. And it just got to the point where I realized, like a couple weeks ago, I had a heart attack.
David, I'm so sorry.
It wasn't a massive heart attack, but it was enough.
Still a heart attack. Those are absolutely excruciating and terrifying. I had a heart attack at 24. I know what you went through 2 weeks ago. I am so sorry that happened to you. Wow, I'm so glad you're alive.
Yeah, and so it's, because it's not every day she gets in a heart attack. It's just we met her in her house, and we had out back on Christmas Day, and I just told her, look, I'm not your bullying, because she's like, 8 years older than me. And, ever since our mom died back in, 2002, she feels like she has to be a mother figure. And it's just, I realized after my heart attack, I thought, I'm getting really bitter at her.
Yep.
And I also realized that I've gotten way off track in, my goals and everything. And I'm just having a hard time getting back on track.
Wow. David, you said something so powerful, that your heart attack showed you that you had a lot of heavy bitterness inside of you concerning your sister. How do you get back on track? You forgive. You forgive. You forgive. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Do you know what's been holding you back? The way you think. It's time to take on a whole new mindset.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your freedom, your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hatred eats the soul of the hater, not the hated. That is a quote by Alice Hertz-Sommer. She's a Holocaust survivor. If anybody has the right to say that statement, it would be that woman. We get upset and we think we've been hurt. But man, when you look at the hurt and suffering that others have had, like Holocaust survivors, it makes our hurt look really, really small. But that doesn't mean that we don't need the power of forgiveness. And why? Because unforgiveness will lead you to a heart attack. It can even lead you to a stroke. It can even lead to cancer. Medical studies have proven this. You go do the research yourself. The medical community has done studies for years on the power of forgiveness. I know it's hard, and I know you don't want to. But basically what you're saying is you want to continue to swallow poison every day that is rotting your soul, not the soul of the person who hurt you. In fact, even in some cases, someone hurt you or offended you, and they don't even know that they did it. They don't even know. Sometimes we set ourselves up for hurt. How? Well, like earlier today in the show, the woman that had confessed that she had these crazy standards on her husband. Basically, she expected her husband to be sinless like Jesus the Christ, to be sinless, and he didn't reach that sinless place. And so therefore she felt devalued and, was condemning him and critical of herself and others and the family and friends even. So we often can do that. We have this perception. We hold people up to a higher standard than we hold up ourselves, especially when we're expecting them to come and ask for forgiveness first before we forgive them. Listen, that's such a low level of leadership. And here on the Dani Johnson Show, we talk about success. We redefine it. We challenge the status quo of it. Listen, when you become successful, it doesn't mean that no one hurts you anymore. No, hurt is part of life. It's part of life. Struggles is part of life. You are always going to have those things happen in your life. So that's why you got to have the weapon, the sword in your armory, the sharp shooting bullet of forgiveness. It's the quickest way to have a refresh, a restart. It's the quickest way to clear up the fog inside of your head. It is also the quickest way to bring healing into your physical body. The best success book ever written says, forgive and be healed. Yeah, we have to forgive first if we want to be healed. If you've got a physical ailment, perhaps it is there because you have unforgiveness inside of you. It's difficult, but you got to do it. There's no question. We have Brandy Billings from Etowah, Tennessee. Tennessee is in the house. Your second caller from Tennessee. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. So you have forgiven somebody for something that they've done that was really, really hard. What was the impact from that?
Yes, I have. And hi, Dani. It's nice to speak with you. The lady that I had to forgive, she had started trying to, message my husband and stuff on Facebook, and I had caught on to it pretty quickly, and, no telling what, where it would have went had I not, caught on when I did. But, for a couple of years I'd spent just hating her, and, I couldn't stand the thought of her. I didn't want to see her. And it was getting to the point to where I couldn't even stand that her kids went to the same school as my kids did. And,
how did you look at her kids, Mama? How did you look at her kids?
It sort of just ate at me. Like, I can't really explain it. It was just like, I didn't feel like she should exist or they should exist because they were part of her.
Yeah.
And I'm not one to, feel like that towards kids. And I've seen her back in December at our, town Christmas parade, and I almost came out of my car to go after her. I can't see that. So I sat down and thought, I've got to forgive her because this is going to drive me insane. And she went on with her life, and my hatred towards her is not helping me. It's not helping, every time my husband makes a move, I'm questioning, well, what are you doing now? What do you, just out of fear, and I just don't like to live like that. And, for a couple of years I'd been out of church, and, I had turned my back on God and the fact that He even existed, and, and then just something, after seeing her in December, something, I don't know, just started changing in me. And, on New Year's Eve, I messaged her, and I told her, look, I need you to know I've spent this many years hating you, and I just want you to know I forgive you, for what you've done. And, and I wished her well, and she told me, she started crying and said that she didn't deserve my forgiveness. And I told her I think we all deserve forgiveness at some point, because I'm sure I've hurt several people myself, and I'd made amends with some family that I felt had hurt me, but I knew I'd also hurt them, and so we all reconciled. And, since then, I've recently, accepted God back into my life, and just things just started, taking a turn for the better.
Yes.
But I could not live hating somebody,
yes.
Like I hated her.
Yeah.
It just wasn't me, and it was just eating at me, and, I couldn't move on with my life and do what I wanted, spending so much energy just focused on hating this person. So,
and what did that look like as a mother? You know what I mean? So here we're taking, I know what you're talking about. I've had that in me before. Oh my gosh. Right? And I love your story. I love your honesty. There I saw her and I was getting ready to get out of my car and go have a conversation with her. I'm sure it was a wrestling match. And I'm sure that she was fearful too. I'm sure it affected her as a mother of her children. I'm sure it affected how your face looked at her own children. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's one thing I want to challenge you on. One thing. And you said that she said, I don't deserve your forgiveness. She's right. Mm-hmm. She's right. I don't agree that we all deserve forgiveness. I don't agree at all. I deserve to die for my sin. I deserve to be flogged, tarred, feathered. I deserve to be killed for my sin. For the wages of sin is death. All of us deserve the full price for our sin. We don't deserve anything. It is only by the grace of Almighty God that He freely has forgiven us Those of us who have asked him for that forgiveness, he has freely forgiven us. So freely we've been given the gift of forgiveness, therefore freely we should give it. Freely. None of us deserve it. We're a bunch of wretched pigs. As you look, you're like, I'm not a hateful person, but look, you were about to respond physically. Meaning your hatred is about to come out of your hands, honey, and out your mouth. Now, look at this too. Look back and go, wow, how was I to my kids when I had this hatred in me towards this woman?
Right.
Who didn't even sleep with your husband. I'm not saying don't forgive her. I'm not making light of it. Yes, she was flirting with your husband, and yes, that deserves, right? That deserves, God help the woman that tries to flirt with my husband. I'm kidding. Anyway. Forget it. I've been in your shoes before is what I'm saying. Oh, and I know those emotions of like you, right? But look at how that caused you to be as a mom to your own kids. Mm-hmm. And then who you were as a wife to your own husband because of that. Right. You know what I mean? That was not helping you be a good, loving wife or a good, encouraging mother. I'm so proud of you. This just happened that you just turned right back and walked again into your Father's arms. He has forgiven you. I'm proud of you. And that you gave that woman the gift, the free gift that you can't give on your own. Otherwise, you would have gave it to her a long time ago. That was through the blood of Jesus that gift was extended to her, and I love that. Oh my gosh, Brandy, I'm so proud of you. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, this is Dani Johnson. Let me ask you something. Do you dream about doing hair and makeup professionally? Have you ever noticed that one stylist can charge $20 for a service and another can charge $200 and they're both on the same street? What's the difference? Their skill. One has invested into higher level of skill beyond the basic training that is offered out there. If you want to do hair and makeup, why start at the bottom? You can learn expert skills and earn professional money doing something you absolutely love. That's why I'm excited about XMH Beauty. Xtina Harmsworth has a track record of results, a professional hair and makeup artist working with some of the biggest names in Hollywood. She wants to help you achieve your dreams by teaching you her professional beauty techniques and insider secrets that will set you apart from everyone else. So don't sit on your dream another minute. Learn from the best. Get in touch with Xtina today. XMHbeauty.com. Again, that's XMHbeauty.com. For families in Santa Pancha, Nicaragua, life is filled with fear and struggle. They don't have enough food for their kids, clean water is hard to find, and they're living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel on top of mining tunnels that could explode and sink at any moment. But a miracle is in the making, and you can be a part of transforming this village. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha to see how you can help. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org, and click on Santa Pancha.
No more fear, no more shame, no more excuses. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
You were meant for more than the status quo of success. That's why every day you and I are going to get together to keep you on track. One of the things that makes you meant for more than the status quo of success is this: forgive. You be known as a person that forgives. Well, then, Dani, people are going to take advantage of me. No, they're not. No, they're not. That's a totally different topic, by the way. But you be one that is going to give the free gift of forgiveness, and now you've become a safe place for people to work with, a safe place for someone to follow. You've become a safe place for someone to live with, someone to grow with, someone to vacation with. People who carry bitterness are not fun to be around, and no one wants anything to do with those people. But you can be one that is thoroughly blessed because you're one that understands forgiveness. Another thing with hello, you were meant for more than just the status quo of success, what society is defining success. Here you go. You want an instruction manual on how you can get there, how you can have balance in your life of not running around like a chicken cut off with their head cut off? Speaking of chicken, that's what I'm having for dinner. Anyway, tonight, first steps to wealth It's a free gift that we would love to give you. This is our gift to you for being a faithful listener to the Dani Johnson Show, especially if this is your very first time tuning in. This is yours. Call this phone number. It's going to give you a guide. It's a guide on how to walk with a clean heart, have great relationships, how to move past the struggles and the pain that you're currently going through or stuff from your past, as well as how to grow your income and annihilate all of your debt in 5 to 7 years. Call this phone number now, 866-760-8255. Again, that's 866-760-8255. You want this copy. And if you would like an ebook copy of this, that's absolutely free. But if you would like a physical copy, you pay the shipping and handling, and we will send you the $15 book. I think that's fair, right? I think that's fair. Ask for Nate, 866-760-8255. Nate is waiting to hear from you. He's an amazing young man who prays for you every day. On the other side of that, you're meant for more than just the status quo of success. Use your success that you're building, a portion of it, to help those who have none. Imagine if the world was this way, that we use a portion of our success to help those who have absolutely none. Well, what do I mean by none? I mean people like Audalis, single mom of 4 children, 9-month-old twins. She has to decide every day which kid is going to get food. Yes, because she can't feed all 4 and herself every day. She doesn't have that kind of money. She makes $2 a day ironing somebody else's clothes and doing their laundry. Do you want to help her right now? She needs your help. We are going to put her in a home that is safe. We're going to put her in business. We're going to teach her how also to sew. We're going to teach her about finances. She's going to have clean water every day because of your help. Go to kingsransom.org. Again, that's kingsransom.org. Or you can call this phone number, 888-291-7123. Again, that's 888-291-7123. You can put food in the belly of one of her babies for an entire year by giving $50. Food and water will feed one of her babies for an entire year. I know that if you chose this week to pack a lunch instead of buy a lunch, that's $50. Can you do that? Can you make that kind of sacrifice and use part of your success? Instead of eating out this week, just 1 week, make that sacrifice and help Audalis' child eat for a whole year. This is Dani Johnson. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I can't wait to talk to you tomorrow about another exciting topic that proves to you that you're worth more than just the status quo of success. God bless.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.